That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be happy today. Welcome to the Happy Today podcast with Lady Maga USA. That's me. And I'll always say, ladies and gentlemen, because there are two genders and 5 million different personalities. I am so excited that you are all here with us today because I have the honor of speaking with a former police officer, a Hispanic former police officer who worked on the border of New Mexico and Mexico. And he's going to talk to us about the wall. He's going to talk to us about immigration. He's going to tell us whether or not President Donald Trump is a horrible racist. And his name is Roman. So, Roman, welcome to the Happy Today podcast.
Hey, thanks a bunch, man. I appreciate it. It's nice to be here with you.
It is such an honor to be here with you right now. Um, I really feel like one of the main things missing from the conversation about immigration and the wall is direct testimonials from people who've actually been there, people who've actually worked down there and seen what's going on. But before we dive into all of that, I like to start off my podcast with a fun question because I believe it says a lot about a person. So I want to ask you, first and foremost, who is your favorite Disney character and why?
Oh, okay. That's interesting question. Okay. So I guess growing up, I was very partial to Goofy. Um, I just thought he was cool. I got a little book one time from an aunt of mine, and he was the primary character in it. It was like a Halloween book with ghosts in it and stuff. And so ever since then, I was always partial to Goofy. I thought he was pretty cool.
You know, that's so funny. On my last podcast, I spoke with Ron J, a Black Lives Matter activist turned Trump supporter, and his favorite character was Goofy as well. So,
And
so
actually, I heard that podcast and I heard that as well. And I forgot about the question until you just asked it. And I thought, it's still my favorite character. So,
no, well,
you know,
we love Goofy. I just think super nice people. I've met you before, and you're a very gentle soul, and so was Ranjay. So I think that Goofy speaks to the kind-hearted people out there.
cool.
Excuse me. All right, so now the fun questions are over. Now we'll get into the more serious questions. But can you hold on just 1 second?
Sure.
I have an incoming call. Hold on 1 second. Yeah. Hello. Oh my gosh. Oh my, Roman, hold on 1 second.
Okay. All right.
It's Barack Hussein Obama on
Oh
the
my
other line.
gosh. Are
So
you
you just
kidding
hold
me?
on. Hold on. Hello. Barack Hussein Obama, are you there?
Hello, this is Barry. Just thought I'd call in here and speak to you all a little bit. How are you doing today, Lady Maga?
Well, I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. I have to say, I'm not a really big fan of yours, and I'm especially not a big fan of your wife, Michelle. Some call her Big Mike. But I just wanted to ask you, President Obama, who is your favorite Disney character and why?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm kind of partial to Daffy Duck. I like him. He reminds me a lot of a vice president I once had. They speak a lot alike and they stutter through their sentences most of the time. But it's just really a pleasure to be here with you, talk to you a little bit.
Well,
My
it,
beautiful wife, Michelle, is a big fan of yours.
Oh, well, good. You know, I think it's funny because Daffy Duck actually is not a Disney character and he's black. So is he your favorite because black ducks matter?
Well, I'll tell you what. Yes, I like Daffy Duck for that particular reason, and of course, I think I'm a little bit better of a basketball player than him. But yeah, I like him for that reason. He's a good guy.
All right. Well, I know you're very, very busy trying to destroy America and destroy Trump's presidency and involved in all kinds of illegal espionage and other things. But I just wanted to ask you, what is your secret to having so much self-love?
Well, I'll tell you what. The biggest catalyst to that is looking in the mirror each day. You see, when I look in the mirror and I see a person looking back that has offered this country so much hope and so much of myself, and realize how much I am loved back. It's really hard to not really kind of get caught up in that. I'm a big Barry fan.
You sure are. Can you please promise me that you'll write at least 20 more autobiographies?
Oh, absolutely. There is a ton of material out there, of course, just from everything I've done from the get go to save this country from democracy, to pull it out of the grips of capitalism and get it spiraling into the direction of socialism. And so yeah, I've got a lot of material still to work on. So you can bet that there'll be plenty of books to follow.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Barack Hussein Obama. And I like to use your full name just to fully give respect and homage to your origins. So I just love
Well,
you so
I'm not a
much.
big fan, not a big fan of that, but I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I have to get back to my guest because we actually are going to talk about how to defeat your goals and the bad things you did to our country. So, bye, Barack Hussein Obama. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll see you soon, bud. Talk to you later.
Oh my gosh, Roman, I am so sorry for that interruption. Man,
Wow.
he's
No,
so,
that is, yeah.
he's so obsessed with me. I think it's because he's into drag queens, you know, like,
Right, right.
I think he has a thing for men who dress up as women, the whole kind of thing, whatever's going on over there with
Sure.
Big Mike. But anyway, okay, so
Yeah.
back to our conversation before we were so rudely interrupted by Barack Hussein Obama. So tell me a little bit about the years that you worked on the border of New Mexico and Mexico.
Well, I spent my whole career with the New Mexico State Police, so I was in that state and worked along the border or dealt with the issues that arose from crime on the border for 22 years. I've done it my whole adult life, whether it was in uniform patrol, narcotics investigations, criminal investigations. You know, uh, every gamut of law enforcement I was involved in with the New Mexico State Police. It involved some type of catalyst to the border.
So down on the border, it sounds like you dealt with all kinds of situations. Um, would you consider our border, our southern border, basically an open border in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was for the entire time that I was working in the area, it was pretty wide open, and of course, there's been a lot to combat that now with the wall being built and so but the entire time that I was working with the state police, that border was very porous and very wide open. So I'm glad that there's been something done now to secure it.
Okay, so my question is um, the number one accusation that people always throw at me as an open, enthusiastic Trump supporter is that I am racist. And one of the first things they always talk about is how President Trump called all Mexican immigrants criminals and rapists. And I just want to ask you one, um, can you explain what you believe about Trump's alleged racism, and also if you believe that securing the border with a wall is in fact a racist thing to do.
Well, first of all, what Trump said, as we all know, or the people that actually listen know, is that he was speaking to the criminal element coming from the southern border, and he is in fact, he is in fact spot on with his assessment of what's happening. There are good and bad people coming in, and of course, the ones we're concerned about are the rapists, are the drug dealers. And when you talk about the crime involving drugs and human trafficking that is being perpetrated on our country from the southern border, uh, it's not offline to say that Mexican drug trafficking cartels are responsible. Now, that's not racist, that's just a fact. The drugs and the crime that are coming in from the southern border are perpetrated by Mexican drug trafficking cartels. And so the stuff that Trump has been doing to secure the border is the same thing that you and I or other people do when they build a house. I mean, we designate our property lines, we build the foundation, and we put up a structure, and then we build a wall around it to ensure that our families and ourselves are safe from whatever may be coming in from the outside, and to give us a sense of security. So, uh, all he's doing is outlining these borders, these points of security, and making sure that they are as secure as possible, just like we do when we build a house.
Absolutely. Now, critics of the wall say that a wall will, in fact, not work. People can just scale the wall, people can dig under the wall. Do you feel that a wall is the best way to secure the border?
Well, absolutely. That's the only way. I mean, to physically secure it, you have to have some type of structure, some type of deterrence, and some way of making it more difficult to get in. Again, if someone's walking onto my property, I would rather have a deterrent and an obstacle in the way from allowing that person onto the property. And secondly, the people that bring up those weak arguments have to realize that engineers build these walls and these barriers, and they're aware of the things that need to be taken into consideration. There's going to be people trying to dig under, so of course you're going to build that structure with some type of integrity underneath the ground. And of course they feel that people might try to scale and go over the wall. Well, they're going to put up some type of deterrent and physical barrier from allowing that to happen as well. I mean, that's just common sense. That's engineering 101, and I'm not even a civil engineer.
Okay, that makes sense. You are a Latino man yourself. Tell me a little bit about your background and your family's background. Tell me your story.
Well, I grew up in northern New Mexico in a Hispanic household, filled with Democrats and Democratic mentality. And we always voted for the Democrat in our house, whether it was absentee ballot or whatever it may be. That was just what we did. And it wasn't until I grew older and began my work in law enforcement that I started to really kind of think about and analyze what it was all these years that the Democrats had done for us. And I realized they hadn't done anything for me or my family. I realized that a lot of it was, um, it seemed to be perpetrated by these people, are the ones that I know that might be able to help me if my son gets thrown in jail for DWI. I know, uh, Congressman so and so, or I know Senator so and so, or I know this person. And if I need a favor, if I need my road paved, these are the people that are going to help me. It's not going to be the evil white Republican that's going to help me. It's going to be you know, the Hispanic person that came from my neighborhood that supposedly is going to be the one there to help me. But I realized they didn't do anything for us. Um, and There was one incident in my time in law enforcement that was kind of an eye-opening experience for me. I was heading up an operation in which we were conducting a drug trafficking investigation, and we started to determine that there was a group of Mexican nationals that were trafficking drugs outside of the labor department there in Santa Fe. And we began to conduct an investigation, and it led us to four individuals that were selling narcotics there to other people that were waiting for work. And this one day we went down and we conducted a raid. We arrested these four individuals, took off running from us. Uh, a couple of them were wanted out of state for larceny and drug trafficking charges. One of them had a stolen gun on him. And In other words, they had all had extensive criminal histories, and they were all wanted out of other states for previous crimes. Well, after we conducted this investigation and these arrests, all the media wanted to talk about was how we were targeting these poor Mexican nationals that were just looking for work and weren't here to do anything, weren't here to harm anybody. As a matter of fact, while we were arresting these people, we had uh, folks around that area that were yelling at us and throwing things at us. Why are we arresting these poor, Mexican nationals that are just trying to live a better life? But once I provided them with the information of what these people were wanted for, none of that information went into the newspaper article that day. All it said was state police targets Mexican nationals in front of Labor Department. And that was a story that went out. And that was an eye opener for me because I started to realize I don't think these people really care about the facts. They care about um, the agenda. They care about pushing forward this narrative that everybody that's here from Mexico are good, honest people. Well, when you provide sanctuaries for people that are coming over illegally, well, you're going to get an element of very bad people that come into those sanctuary cities and those sanctuary areas because they know that they're not in any danger of being arrested or sent back to Mexico.
Right. Now that honestly, I find that heartbreaking for two reasons because you were trying to keep people safe by arresting obviously terrifying and very dangerous criminals, one, and two, those dangerous criminals really do give a bad name to all of the good um, Mexican people. Because I live in an apartment complex with a lot of Hispanic families. I'm like best friends with them porque yo hablo español and I love them. I know that they are good people. I'm assuming there might be some illegal immigration going on, but obviously we don't want to paint all Mexicans as bad. But the left just refuses to acknowledge um, the dangerous elements of these sanctuary cities and the lack of control within our immigration system, much like they refuse to acknowledge the radicalism and terrorism of Black Lives Matter. It's
Absolutely.
obvious, it's out there. So my question for you is, and maybe you can't answer this because I certainly can't. Why do they do this? Why? Why would they push a narrative knowing that people will be hurt and that it puts everybody at risk to not thank police officers for arresting dangerous criminals? Why do they sugarcoat criminal and dangerous people?
Well, I think there's a certain element of guilt that plagues these people that feel that this cause that they're fighting for is an admirable and honorable cause, and they're not educated about the um, the diversity of criminality that perpetrates the United States through the southern border. It's easier to believe that everybody that's coming here is coming to make a better life for themselves. But wherever there is opportunity and the ability to go undetected, you're going to have evil that's going to exploit that. So I like the analogy of a house, and I always use that. Um, you know, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I want to ask you, um, the border, the wall, obviously, first and foremost, President Trump wants to keep American citizens safe. He wants our communities to be safe. He wants people to live in safety. But I sometimes wonder if Americans are like the real dramatic victims of our open border situation, or if it's the Mexican people themselves, the people who are smuggled, the people who are caught up in these drug circles and cartels. Who are the real victims along the border? Who did you see suffering most? Was it American citizens or was it Mexican people caught up in this mess?
It was both. Because what you're finding is you have a very bad situation going on south of the border. There's a lot of good people that are trying to come up to the United States to make a better life for themselves. They know that they have a very it's not perfect, but they have a very good criminal justice system here. They have a great deal of opportunity to make a better life for themselves. So when they're fleeing a country that's filled with people that are taking advantage of them, that are stealing from them, that are robbing them, that are doing these type of things, and those same people are allowed to come into this country and terrorize them here. Um, they don't like that. They hate it just as much as Americans do, because you have those people that are coming to the America to get away from that. So when you have a community that is filled with good people coming from Mexico that are trying to make a life for themselves, starting businesses, sending their children to school to be educated. And then they realize, well, wait a minute, now it's being filled with and infiltrated with drug cartel members coming from Mexico, drug and gang members, human traffickers, sex offenders coming from Mexico. They hate it just as much as Americans do, and
And,
rightly
and
so.
and yet the Latino community still overwhelmingly votes Democrat. So if you had a stage right now, or you had a, a live video with every Mexican immigrant in the United States, what would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I'd say to them is, you fled Mexico for a reason, and you came to the United States for a reason. But what you did in Mexico, what you've done in Mexico that created the situation, was to vote for a progressive liberal party for the last 100 years in Mexico that has done nothing for you, that has created this monster, that has perpetrated the corruption and the drugs and the violence, and has allowed it to go uh, unchecked. And then you come to the United States, you want to change what you've done in Mexico to create that situation. And the only way to do that is to vote for and to support the party and the people that are providing what makes America great.
Right.
And
That
so that would be the biggest thing I tell them is, Mexico is a perfect example of progressive Marxist uh, mentalities that have destroyed um, a uh, safe way of living. And why
that's
do that here?
yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, I have visited Mexico multiple times. Like I said, I speak Spanish. I have you could probably see behind me, I collect like Mexican antiques. I've got a big Mexican blanket on my ceiling in here. I love Mexican culture, and I truly do cherish the beautiful elements of Mexican and Hispanic culture in general. So
Hmm.
I do have a soft spot for so-called dreamers, people
Sure.
who were born here. Talk to me about that, and how do we handle that situation with compassion and also, you know, reality?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation because I'm not the kind, I think, that likes to maybe view the entire situation with the dreamers as a all or nothing type of thing. I think that it needs to be it's a complicated situation, and I think that it needs to be treated on a case by case basis. Um, and I think it's unfair. I think the thing that's sad is that you have these children that are brought into the United States illegally by parents who know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly the risks that are taking, and the situation that they're placing their children in, and they choose to do it anyway. It's like a person who's building a meth lab in their house with their children there. They know that danger is there. They know that it's not a good situation, but they do it anyway. It's the same as a person that's driving drunk down the street and he's got his two children in the back seat of his car. And I've had those situations. If I pull that person over, I've got to arrest that man and I've got to turn his children over to state custody. It's not fair for the children. It's not an enjoyable experience for them. It's very traumatizing. It's traumatizing to everybody involved. But the bottom line is, I didn't create that situation. The children didn't, but it was the irresponsible decisions made by the parents.
Right, kind of like a sins of their fathers type thing falling on them, um,
Right,
leading down their actions or having consequences on their kids. Okay, that
right.
leads me to the other. I should have asked this first. The other thing that people scream at me every time I want to talk about immigration: children in cages, children in cages, children in cages. Talk to me about children in cages as a former police officer on our border. Just talk to me about the cages, okay?
Right, right. Yeah, well, the cages, it's I mean, you're talking about, again, a bureaucracy and a government that creates a situation, and then they want to try to place the blame on other people. Our government created the situation with cages, when Obama and Biden decided that was a good idea. And when you have a situation where you're taking in so many people without the resources to adequately house those people, and then you're not wanting to provide resources and funding to the departments like INS and Border Patrol, to actually house these people properly, how can it be their fault? So in other words, you have a facility or a place that may be built to house 20 people, and your own government saying, no, we're not going to give you any more money to uh, make sure that those structures and those places that these people are housed are adequate, that they're safe. But not only that, we're going to ask you to put 10 times that amount of people in there. um, and That's what happened. Now, the other thing that people felt to keep in mind is that uh, the biggest shout by these folks that are claiming these same things are the ones saying, well, you're pulling them and taking them from their parents, and you're separating from their parents, and you're keeping them from their parents. These people that are bringing these children across most of the time are not their parents. And these people need to realize that when you have a child that's coming in, here again, you have parents that are making the decision to send their children with coyotes and traffickers across the border. And the only way they know that they can get them across is by saying, yes, I'm their father. Yes, I'm their mother. Yes, I'm their uncle. This is my child. And when you have a 7-year-old that's told to do that by their parents and by the scary coyote that's bringing them across, of course they're going to say that. Well, yes, that's my dad. That's my dad. And so the situation now is, I think you have 500 children that are supposedly being, well, not supposedly, that are being housed at the border, not in cages, but usually with foster families. All of these children are with foster families. They're not in cages. They're not even in hotel rooms. They're with loving families. What they found out of these 500 kids, I think 485, um, they've been able to locate their parents in Mexico, and those same parents have refused to come pick up their children. So you have
Hey,
these children still here.
if you're listening to this podcast right now, please share this podcast. This is the element missing because even in my mind, I was like, oh, yeah, they've got those fences down there. There's the narrative is just so force fed to us:
Sure.
children in cages, um,
Right.
that we were ignorant of what's really going on. So only bleeding heart, foolish Western countries allow our borders to remain open and then offer charitable services to people who break our laws and cross our borders. I know that if you're on the border of, well, for example, in college, I did a semester abroad in Ecuador, and I really wanted to extend my stay, but they refused to let me stay 1 week longer than my little permit, whatever it was. And if I had stayed, I would have been kicked out. I would have been arrested. I would not have been given food. I would not have, they would have just boosted me out. So it's just like, why do we have why do we have such a bleeding heart attitude toward people who break our laws? I understand compassion and patience and kindness for the children, but for the adults who willingly break the law, especially adults who illegally bring children over the border, I just feel like we're very wishy-washy and we need to be tougher. Talk to me about
Well,
that.
well, here's the paradox. Here's the interesting paradox to that. These same people that are claiming to be so concerned about these 500 children that are here, and by the way, are probably living a very good life with these foster parents in the United States, as opposed to the horrible situation that they're obviously in Mexico. I mean, because honestly, what parent would send their child with a criminal to cross the border with? Um, but here's the paradox that I wanted to outline. Every day in the United States, I would say probably 10 times that amount of children are taken from their parents who break the law. So, and again, that's just an estimate. But if these people are so concerned about children that are separated from their family members that are breaking the law, why are they more concerned with people that are not from this country as opposed to Americans? You have American children that are separated from their parents every day here in the United States. I mean, 500 is just a fraction of what of the amount of children that get separated from their parents here in the United States. So why aren't those Save Bleeding Hearts concerned about those children that are placed into foster care with the state every day when their parents are arrested for DWI or drug charges or domestic violence?
Well, that seems to be the lunacy of the left in general. They are more concerned about illegal immigrants. They are more concerned about flooding our country with more immigrants than they are about the opioid crisis, about our multiple shootings every single day in Chicago, about our inner cities in Baltimore, Detroit, Miami. People are suffering right now, and they have an obsession with bringing in more immigrants, and they do care more about the situation with the illegal immigrants, while they ignore the massacre of young Black men across our country every week
Yeah,
who are being shot. They never even talk about that. So
great point.
that's another question I have for you. What, because in the end, I feel like everything comes down to money and power. For example, in the LGBTQIA plus XYZ radical movement now,
Hmm.
everybody knows gay people like me were just fine. The gays got everything they needed. We're fine. So they had to start this whole new victim narrative connected with being transgender. And it's about power, because looking like you are a defender of victims gives you power, and it also gets a heck of a lot of money to organizations that seek to right a wrong. So the transgender narrative has gotten a lot of funding thrown at big organizations like the Human Rights Campaign. So the victim narrative, I feel like, gives Democrats power. They look
Absolutely.
they look noble, they look caring, and therefore
Absolutely.
they get money and power by appearing to be these benevolent, wonderful caregivers, when in reality they do nothing for these people before or after they arrive in the country.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So what
I know, I'm agree.
what purpose does massive illegal immigration and immigration in general serve for the Democrats? Why are they pushing it? Joe Biden just said, if he successfully steals this election, the first thing he's going to do is take in 125,000 new refugees, I believe primarily from Somalia and other incongruent cultures that will not make America stronger. So why do they want this? Why do they push it?
Well, that's the whole premise of their power structure. It's dependency. If you have a people that are dependent on you to give them everything they need, then you have created instant power. You have created the ability to uh, do whatever you want to that public. So that's the biggest catalyst behind it, is being able to promote dependency on the government.
Okay, so that's
So
basically what I was kind of getting at, but you said it. They want mass government dependency because if I
absolutely,
feed you and I house you, I control you.
absolutely,
So they don't want people to come here and become empowered entrepreneurs and business owners. They
no.
want people to create a mass welfare state. Do they also want them just for votes? Because they know if they feed them, house them, and control them, they'll vote for them?
Well, yes, because they know that it's already worked with the Black community. They've seen that this has happened, and that they were able to manipulate the Black community to vote Democrat, to convince them that this is what they need. Otherwise, they're gonna they are going to suffer at the hands of the evil white man. And basically, the whole idea that capitalism and liberty is evil, that's the whole idea behind what the Democrats and the left pushes, is that big government is good. We know what you need. We know how to give it to you. We know that if we eliminate people that have their own minds, that control their own destiny, that have their own money, um, then those people cannot be controlled. So that's what it boils down to. People like you and me believe in what our forefathers believe in, getting the government out of the way of the people living a free life. The Democrats believe in controlling every aspect of your life so that a one world government can be created, and those at the top will control everything. And that's what it boils down to. It boils down to power in the hands of the select few so that they can control you and me and everything in this country.
I think what you said about the Black community is so poignant because they have decimated them. They
Absolutely.
they don't own property. They're every city across America with large Black populations is controlled by Democrats, and these people have lost the American dream, and it is because of that culture of dependency and victimhood that has been pushed on them, and all of the Blacks for Trump and my African American friends who are at all these rallies say the exact same thing. They say, we've been lied to, we've been taken advantage of, we've been told we're victims. And what have they done for us? I think, was it President Trump who said, what have you got to lose?
Right.
So,
Right.
so I see now very clearly dependency. I'm going to remember that. And every time I talk about this with people who want to talk about immigration, I'll say they want mass immigration to create mass dependency, which gives power to the government. Now,
Yeah.
on a brighter note, as I said, I love Hispanic culture. I love the language. I love the food. I love the history. I love the architecture. I love it so much. And in Europe, their mass immigration is from, I'll be careful how I word this, but their mass immigration comes from countries that practice the great religion of peace that just leads to freedom for women and happiness for gay people and
Right.
equality and joy everywhere they go. I mean,
Hmm.
Paris, London, Sweden, they're all just enjoying
Germany.
Germany, they're all just enjoying the benefits of the great influx of people of the
Right.
religion of peace.
Right.
So I am
Yep.
grateful we are on that path in the United States. However, I don't think that the great religion of peace immigration is going to outnumber Hispanic immigration. And that gives me hope because if we can just convince the Latino population of the United States that they are being lied to and that they can become twice as prosperous, twice as happy, twice as successful, and twice as rich by
Hmm.
joining the conservative movement, I feel like we can take back our country because demographically, if we're realistic, the future of the United States is Hispanic. It's Latino
Hmm. Hmm.
because boring old white people are not having a lot of kids, but the people who live in my building, they've got like 5 kids each, and power to them, because those kids are, they're well dressed, they're loved. These parents are working hard. So I just feel like our one of our primary objectives in the United States as conservatives has to be to continue the outreach to the Latino community, because talk to me about the fundamental values of Hispanics and how that could make America great.
Well, it's not just the fundamental values of Hispanics. I think it's the fundamental values of people in general, and that has been destroyed generationally already for the Black community. And I think that's the sad part, is that you have Mexican families and people from other Latin American countries that are coming here still with the idea and the premise, for the good ones anyway, with the idea and the premise that the family unit is the most important building block for a successful future. Now, generationally, this country has already destroyed the idea and the thoughts about the importance of the nuclear family in the Black community. And it's been accepted. It's already accepted that, you know, fathers are not around at a high rate in that community. And it's rising in the Hispanic community, and it's an acceptable idea. And the government promotes this, or I'm sorry, the government, leftist government promotes this, Marxism promotes this, because it's a way to control people. So Latin American families are still interested in values. They're still interested in the family unit. They're still interested in both parents raising children, and, you know, uh, dad making sure and keeping the children in line, and mom making sure and being the loving, nurturing one that, you know, helps to raise the kids at home, and that type of thing. They have that idea and that thought process in their lives each day. And again, like I said, it's not just with them, but it's being destroyed in every race and every aspect of
Oh,
family life.
absolutely. Black Lives Matter straight out said they want to destroy the traditional nuclear family.
Right,
And
right,
the
right.
LGBT radicals,
Yep.
um, we've got a little delay here. Are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we're back on
Yep.
track.
I'm here.
The LGBT radicals have the exact same agenda. There are no genders. Men can have babies. All this stuff. It's all about destroying the traditional family. That's why some conservatives fear me, because they think I'm part of that. But there's room for me to be a drag queen. There's room for me to just be my gay self and live my life. But I will never, ever attack the fundamental nuclear family or the traditional American family values that make our country
Right.
strong. And so, that's why I do have hope. I see these Latino families, you know, and another thing I love is that the grandparents are a critical part of the lives of their children and their grandchildren, and they revere their elderly. So I could go on and
Right.
on about, so that's why this topic is near and dear to my heart, because I truly do love Mexican and Hispanic people. But we are in a total mess when it comes to immigration in this country. And so
Right.
if you had if you had a magic wand right now, hold on to that question. Hold on to that question. We have an incoming call. Hold on one second. Hold on.
Mhm.
Hello? Yes, Bernie Sanders. Oh my gosh, girl, it's been so long. Yeah, how are you? Oh, good. The nose hair trimmer worked. Yeah, I saw that they were zooming in on you, and I was so embarrassed for you. Hold, I'm actually in an interview right now. Do you want to just come in and say a few things? We're talking about children in cages and socialism, okay? All right, so Bernie, you're on. You're on. Say hello to everybody.
Well, hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to everyone of your audience members about the importance of wealth redistribution in this country.
Talk to me about wealth redistribution, because I am a white person, so I've never had to work for anything. Tell me how I can get rid of everything I own and give to people of color.
Well, that's the very interesting thing. First of all, you need to vote for me. next time I run. Of course, this time I've conceded once again to give away the election to Joe Biden, even though it was stolen from me. However, that is a separate story. It is much like, how would I say, I don't know if you've ever flown in an airplane, but you have the plane is separated into three separate classes, of course. You have your first class, then you may have a business class area, and then you have the main cabin. Now, is it fair that the people in first class get special treatment? Well, I think that everybody on an aircraft should be given first class seats and that the first class passengers should pay for those. Do you not think that that's fair?
I think that's a great idea. But you know what? You know what, Bernie? Just knowing that you always fly first class and that you own multiple mansions and that your dream is not to create an egalitarian society. Your dream is to be part of an elite ruling class. So I just remembered all that. And this conversation's over. I'm hanging up on you. Back to Roman. Roman, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, he is so just, I've seen pictures of him in first class and he's just
Yeah.
I can't listen to him because all I can picture are his yellow long like
Fingernails?
gout ridden fingernails like scratching his gross peely
Yeah, yeah. I
liver
didn't know those
spots.
were his nose. I thought he had a handful of Frito chips. I didn't know that was his. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was okay. Okay.
Oh my gosh, we are yeah, but I'm not gonna have I could take Barack Hussein Obama because he's a good looking guy and he's charming, but man, Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders, I'm not having
I'll
him back.
tell you what.
I'm just gonna hang up next time he calls.
Yeah, and he didn't even make any sense.
I
Golly,
know.
okay.
No, he never does make sense. All
Yeah,
right, so Roman, back to the question about the magic wand before Bernie Sanders so rudely interrupted us.
right, right.
If you had a magic wand and you could just kind of go 1, 2, 3, 4, what 4 magic waves would you do to help fix immigration?
Well, first thing is you have to secure the border. I mean, if I had the first wand I would take, I would just secure the border completely. Make sure that there's no way of getting in and out. Now I know that
With
that's
a wall, the entire
yeah, it has to
thing,
be it has to
Baja
be a physical.
California, all the way across Texas.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if I had a magic wand, it would be a complete barrier. I know that geographically that's probably not possible, but a magic wand, I'd seal up the border, not just on the south side, I'd seal it up on the Canadian side. There'd be a wall completely um, securing our country. Um, and then secondly, I and you're talking about fixing it from this point forward. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you could just roll forward with a magic wand, the biggest steps to fix our immigration crisis.
Okay.
So
So the
wall number 1.
second thing is I would begin by removing every single criminal illegal that we have in this country. If you're in prison, and I think it's the ratio was 60% of all criminals right now are illegals in our prison system. If you're a repeat criminal offender in our system, in or out of prison, our goal would be to remove you and to send you back to your country and never allow you to step foot in this country again. That would be the second thing I'd do.
Amen. And I want people to listen closely. You said criminal illegals.
Yes.
There are different tiers of illegal immigrants. And the little lady who's working hard, at some job or whatever she's doing is not the same as a
A
MS-13
repeat
member, a
criminal
repeat
offender.
offender, drug dealer, rapist, whatever. So, okay, so
Right.
all get rid of all criminal offenders because you and me are paying for them right now to have a gym, to have education, to have hot meals every day, to have air conditioning and heating. So I love that. I wouldn't. That's why I'm asking you because you've got the wand. Okay, so that's
Right.
1, 2. What else?
The third thing is the magic wand would be to remove sanctuaries, city, county, state status from everywhere in the United States, and to provide the abilities to have sanctions against any governments that provide sanctuary. Because once you start to provide incentive for bad people to live in those communities, you're creating a very bad situation. So that would be number 3.
Okay.
And then
No, go ahead.
no, and then fourth would be a complete vetting of a certain amount of people coming into this country from this point forward, and only taking the best possible immigrants. And again, making sure that that ability is not just from Mexico, because we take a great deal of our immigrants from Mexico, but why aren't we opening that up to the world? If we're going to take in 100,000 immigrants a year, why do 75% of those have to be from Mexico? It should be given an opportunity to all of the world. So if you're an immigrant and you want to come to the United States and you're from, the country of Ghana, and you have something to offer this country, we're going to look at your application, and if you meet that standard, we're going to give you that opportunity. So that would be what, yeah.
So is it something like 75% of our immigration comes from one country?
Well, it's a large percentage. I mean, I'm just guessing, but I know it's a large percentage that comes from there. And the other question I would have to people that promote that idea of open borders, the question I have is, how many is too many? So in other words, if we're going to open it to Mexico, then that means people from the Honduras, people from Guatemala, and people from San Salvador that are coming into the country. Where do we draw the line? Or do we just adopt everybody from all of those countries and say, hey, if you're from those countries, you can come into ours, and if it overwhelms our infrastructure and our ability to run this country, well, then I guess that's what we do. But what is the limit? That's my question to people that advocate.
There is no limit. Now that we know they want mass dependency, there is no limit. They want skyrise, disgusting cement block buildings like they have in Argentina and France. And I've traveled the world, and I know what it looks like. So that is what they want. Okay. Lastly, how do we help? What kind of policies can we have in the United States to help those countries not be crap holes that people want to escape? What's the best thing we can do to make them want to stay in their own countries?
Well, that's a difficult thing, because you're talking about the greatest country that has ever existed in this world, that provides opportunity and the best opportunity to live a free life. So people are always going to be incentivized to come to the United States. And here's my answer to that, and I don't think it's probably popular, but we provide an example to the world, and we say, listen, if you're Venezuela and you want to provide a country like the United States, then you have to provide the same values and promote the ideals that the United States is founded on. And that's what we do. But other than that, the United States has to take care of the United States. We don't have the ability to change Castro's mind. We don't have the ability to change Maduro's mind. We don't have the ability to change Kim Jong-il's mind. They have what they believe that they're going to do, and what they believe is best for their country, and nothing we're going to do is going to change that. So
I love what you said about example, and it's American business, American capitalism, American industry that has inspired anywhere that's good in the world, imitated the United States of America.
Absolutely.
Including Europe.
Absolutely.
Basically everything great in any country, business-wise, technology-wise, is because of the example of America. So I think you and I agree that by being the strongest, best America, we can help the rest of the world. And also, I personally believe that without exaggeration, Donald Trump is the beacon and the savior of freedom worldwide right now. He is,
Absolutely.
he is the only leader on the planet right now who believes in hard work, capitalism, determination, and the American way. And if we lose that beacon of the United States, the world loses everything because the world has followed us to prosperity. Fewer people live
Absolutely.
in poverty across the globe right now than ever before in history. And it is
Right.
because of the United States of America. So that's why I support our
Right.
president, Donald Trump. And actually, hold on one second. I'm getting one more call.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, Melania. Hello, darling. Yes. No, no, you were fine. The wind was blowing, but your hair still looks gorgeous. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll catch up with you later. Donald, hello. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna bring you on my podcast. Okay, hold on one second, Roman.
Okay. Okay.
Donald
This a
Trump, hello,
president?
welcome. Yes, Donald
Oh,
Trump. Hello, Donald, Mr.
hello.
President.
It's my pleasure to be on here with you today. Okay. It's wonderful. You're doing a great job, Lady Maga. Listen, I've had the opportunity to see you in several places around the country. And listen, what you're doing is huge. Okay. It's huge, wonderful, big, just like I'm doing here, saving our country, doing wonderful things with our country. You're doing wonderful things with this podcast. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm sorry for calling you Donald. That was so disrespectful. I just heard Melania calling you Donald in the background. But
She's
Pres-
beautiful, isn't she? Isn't she the most beautiful first lady ever in the history of the United States? She's
history.
beautiful, isn't she?
She absolutely is. She's gorgeous. I am a fake drag queen. She is a real queen and I love her. But Mr. President, I just want to thank you for everything you've done. And
It's my pleasure.
if you could just say anything to Barack Hussein Obama right now, what would you say?
Well, the first thing I'd say to him is listen, kiss my ass, okay? What you did to this country, what you did to me in spying on me and doing the things that you've done to this country and the beautiful people that live in it is terrible, okay? It's terrible. And if I was to see you walking down the street, you know, I would tell you the same thing to your face, okay? That's what my message would be to him.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, President Trump. Oh, you are the best. Thank you
It's
so
my
much.
pleasure.
All right. We will catch up with you soon. I got to get back to Roman.
Okay, you do your thing.
Oh my gosh. Disclaimer, just in case, you know how they say fake news and memes and stuff now, they try to get you in
Right.
trouble. Just so everybody knows, talking to Barack Hussein Obama and Bernie Sanders and President Donald Trump on this call was actually my guest, Roman, a former police officer, a a suave, handsome Latino man. I'm getting very much James Bond vibes from you. Very Sean
Oh,
like in
wow,
the like
wow.
in the 70s
Very
and
Sean Connery, right? Yes.
oh yes, we'll have to have him call in next time.
Yeah.
um Roman, it was an honor to talk to you. This was one of the
Oh, it's
most
my honor.
eye-opening, incredible conversations I've had about immigration. I took a lot away from it. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it and send any questions you have for Roman to admin@ladymagausa.com. Just attention, Roman, and I will make sure that he gets those questions. Finally, Roman, I just want to thank you for having joined the armed forces or the is police armed forces? It is. Yeah,
No,
no,
yeah,
no.
no. I mean, when you see it, it's usually military, but yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. And
Okay.
I thank you.
For joining the police force, knowing you could have been killed, I'm sure we could do an entire other podcast about all of those in-depth stories about how many times you actually put your life on the line and you were in danger. I'm glad you were never hurt. I'm glad you were here to have this conversation. Um, and while we're on the topic of police, just a quick question for you. I have spent so much time advocating for our men and women in blue. I've collected letters, I've attended rallies, but I've seen some police officers enforcing Gestapo communist COVID 1984 shutdown things. And my question for you is how do they do their job and not infringe on everybody's constitutional rights right now?
Well, I think that there has to be first of all, a leader that leads these governments that has some sense about the Constitution. And when you have these Gestapo leaders in power that are trying to push these draconian, horrible laws down the throats of the people, it's difficult because you have police officers that have this job and it's their way of making a living. And when you have them uh, out there and they're given direct orders to enforce certain things, I think it is difficult because to take a stand and say they don't feel it's constitutional means that they could potentially lose their job. However, with that being said, they take an oath to enforce the Constitution. And I think that people that understand the Constitution need to start being advocates for those police officers that they see standing out in front of businesses, that they see writing citations and saying, listen, we know you don't want to be here doing this. Who can we talk to? What do we need to do to keep this from happening? And so they need to support their law enforcement by saying, listen, we know that you're being muzzled and we know that you're giving orders. What can we do to remove this burden from you?
So it's up to us to bring attention to our constitutional rights. So
Yeah.
so my question is, if I'm a police officer and they tell me I have to arrest people in Los Angeles for taking their dog for a walk at 11:30 at night, am I a bad man for arresting them?
I believe you are. And the other thing too is that what you have to keep in mind is that every police officer has discretion. That's the biggest thing that the public needs to remember. If I stop you for speeding, it's not mandatory that I cite you. I can say, listen, I feel that you understand the mistake you made and you understand that you were driving too fast and you have a clean record. Well, guess what? I'm going to give you a verbal warning. I don't have to give you a citation. That's my discretion. If I catch you, doing something like this, jaywalking, I don't have to write you a citation. I can talk to you and say, hey, listen, you made a mistake. That's my discretion.
Yeah.
So officers need to realize they have discretion and they don't have to be forced to enforce these things.
Well, and I've seen a few sheriffs across the nation stand up and just flat out say, "We're not enforcing this. We were hired
Absolutely.
to enforce the law and the Constitution, not your draconian 1984 Gestapo shutdown." But
Yeah,
I'd love to talk more about the actual police force itself, what we can do to improve it, and of course,
sure.
alleged police brutality and all of the drama that the left is obsessed with. But it's
Sure.
very late. I know it's late where you are. We've stayed up late talking. It was an honor and a privilege to talk to you, Roman, and I hope to see you very soon. God bless
Well,
you and God bless your family. And thank you for
no,
sharing the truth with us today.
no, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. I really enjoyed it.
God bless
Thank you
you,
so
and I'll
much.
talk
God
to you
bless
very
you.
soon.
God bless you,
Okay.
brother.
All
Okay.
right. Thanks,
Bye
Roman.
bye. Uh-huh.
Okay.